Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Diane Parker. Miller has the weekend forecast, plus a Montana dinosaur sells for big bucks at auction. We'll tell you how much, but first, our top stories. The Montana Highway Patrol is defending itself against racial discrimination claims. A Washington state couple believes their vehicle was searched for drugs just because they are Latino. Now, troopers say there was probable cause to investigate. MTN's Casey Conlon picks up the story, showing us dash cam footage from the traffic stop in question.
Friday, July 22nd, just before 8 a.m., MHP Trooper David Moon pulls Lewis Wright and Anna Guizar over for speeding on I-90 near the Cenex refinery in Laurel. He clocked them going 82 in a 65. Moon goes to the passenger window where Wright is sitting, and Wright tells him they are traveling to see family in Chicago. Moon then asks Guizar, the driver, to come back to his patrol car with him, where he asks her a number of questions. MHP says this is not standard procedure, but is up to the trooper's discretion. Moon tells her he's going to give her a warning, but then requests to ask her more questions. Moon then tells Guizar he's on the interdiction team, whose focus is to prevent drugs from crossing through Montana. It's unclear what prompted that line of questioning.
Anybody putting heroin in the vehicle?
No.
Anybody asked you to transport any
I realized I was speeding, but I don't know, like there's nothing in the car. We weren't.
No meth in the vehicle?
There's nothing in the car.
There's nothing in the car?
No.
No cocaine in the vehicle?
There's nothing in the car.
Moon then asked to search the vehicle.
How would you be good with me searching the vehicle?
No.
You would not?
No.
She just didn't feel it was right. I asked him, why are you giving us such a hard time? There's no reason for you to keep, going on about this other than racially profiling us.
MTN obtained a copy of Trooper Moon's narrative of the incident. He states, "During the stop, I had noticed how the driver could quickly answer questions when I would ask her simple questions. When I would ask about the trip or illegal items, she would change. This was different from the normal motoring public." After Guizar exits Moon's patrol car, the trooper does not allow the couple to get back into their vehicle. Instead, he brings his canine Sammy out to do an open-air search around the car. MHP says a trooper must have probable cause to run a dog during a stop. Sammy immediately runs up and jumps up onto the open passenger window. Moon then walks her back to his vehicle and calls in the alert.
Canine alert.
His narrative states, Sammy indicated to the presence of illegal drug odors coming from the front passenger open window. Moon then makes the decision to seize the car and tells the couple he is going to seek a search warrant. A different trooper who had arrived on scene midway through the stop then drives Wright and Guizar to Bernie's Diner downtown, where they were told to wait.
Would not allow us to retrieve our cell phones, would not allow us to retrieve any money, nothing. It said, call us later so we can update you on your car. And I'm like, well, how would you like me to call you?
After the couple had breakfast, they were eventually picked up again by an MHP officer and taken to a hotel on the West End and paid for a room themselves. District Judge Ashley Harada signed off on a search warrant for the 2016 BMW at 2:17 p.m., and the car was returned to the couple around 6 p.m. with no items seized. Wright says the delay caused them to miss an important event the following day.
Clearly, we're not going to make our funeral tomorrow because this officer has abused his power. He's basically making us suffer because we did not allow him to search the car. The public needs to know what's going on, and it's unfair. It's racial profiling at its highest.
Wright and Guizar say they now plan to seek legal action. In Billings, Casey Conlon, MTN News.
Montana Highway Patrol Sergeant Jay Nelson released this statement. Illegal drugs are coming into Montana at an alarming rate and increasingly along the Seattle to Chicago transportation corridor. Troopers on the criminal interdiction team are trained to identify behaviors and fact patterns that could indicate drug trafficking. In this case, the trooper determined there was probable cause to request a search warrant for the vehicle. Montana's Attorney General is joining a lawsuit against the USDA to prevent the state from losing federal dollars for school lunches. The agency is threatening to withhold funding from states that do not allow transgender athletes to compete on school teams that match their gender identity. 20 state attorney generals are part of the lawsuit, calling the USDA threat and overreach of federal authority. The U.S. Postal Service is creating a new division specifically for mail-in ballots. The agency, which has already handled more than 40 million ballots for this year's midterms, says it is committed to the secure and timely delivery of election mail. For the 2020 election, the post office delivered more than 99% of ballots within 7 days. In western Montana, it is smoky out there due to the moose fire near Salmon, Idaho. The big concern over the weekend is the hot, dry weather and the potential for more wind and thunderstorms. The fire has burned more than 40,000 acres. There are 877 people assigned to that fire, which was first reported July 17th. The cause has not been determined. An unknown Montanan is now a multi-millionaire thanks to these dinosaur bones. They originated in Havre. Well, we have been reporting on this story all month, and now we know this Gorgosaurus skeleton sold for $6.1 million at auction. The buyer is not being identified, but whoever it is will also get the unique opportunity of naming the skeleton. All other known Gorgosaurus bones are in museum collections, making this one the only specimen under private ownership. Well, we want to show you this video. Take a look at that. This is a puppy being snatched from a Billings woman's front yard. She was watching the pet for a neighbor and hopes someone will recognize this person and help get the dog back. And that's a look at some of the day's top stories.
Happy Friday, everybody, and TGIF boom as we cruise into the weekend. For the most part, very dry and very, very hot. Let's take a look at those forecasted, projected highs for today. You can see a lot of 90s across the board. 97 in Helena. We'll go 97 in Kalispell, 98 in Havre along the High Line, 96 in Glasgow, 94 in Billings. Could see triple digits in Missoula today, trying to hit that century mark, and some areas still may not get out of the 80s. We'll go 89 in Butte. How about 84 in and around West Yellowstone, 89 down in Cody. So warm front passing through, getting very, very hot, high pressure dominating, keeping us dry. Some areas still have a chance to see some rain today. We'll tell you where coming up here with the main forecast in just a bit.
Many farmers and ranchers are fuming about a controversial decision regarding bison grazing in public land. The Bureau of Land Management is now going to allow animals to roam on BLM land in north central Montana. But as MTN's David J. learns, the fight is not over.
The final decision allows for bison grazing on 6 of the 7 American prairie allotments on 63,500 acres.
We're at about 800 animals right now. And with this approval, it means that we can graze bison on 6 other BLM allotments. And so what we figure that means is we'll grow from about 800 animals to 1,000 animals by 2025.
Beth Sabo is the Senior Public Relations Manager for American Prairie and says bison grazing will help preserve the land.
Bison are the native grazer on the prairie. They're what we call an ecosystem engineer or a keystone species. They're an integral part of that prairie ecosystem.
The BLM approved 1 of the allotments only for cattle grazing, 4 allotments for seasonal grazing with pasture rotation, year-round grazing on 3 allotments. 2 of those had previously been approved for bison grazing. Ranchers have been concerned with the process. The Montana Stock Growers Association issued a written statement. Ranchers are held to the highest standards by federal land agencies in the areas of range management, range monitoring, range improvements, and processes within the BLM's grazing regulations. Yet, when concerns were raised regarding these areas in comments and protests, BLM did not acknowledge these concerns. Governor Greg Gianforte said the agency limited public comment, ignored requests from state officials for full public engagement, and failed to analyze a full range of impacts of its proposal, which it lacks the statutory authority to enact. Senator Steve Daines said, at a time when our farmers and ranchers are facing unprecedented challenges, we should be listening to our Montana farmers and ranchers, not pushing them aside.
We're thankful that the BLM issued the final decision and are going to allow us to graze bison on these public lands.
Daines says he and Gianforte will work through this decision. In Billings, David J., MTN News.